Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Lieutenant Mike Mason here, out of Chicago. Another year of FDIC 2018, and I'm so glad to be back again. I want to thank Bobby Halton out of Fire Engineering and FDIC, Ginger and Diane. Hello, how you guys doing? It's been a great year. Wanted to thank all you guys all the time for your support. I'm a 31-year veteran. In case some of you don't know me, Lieutenant Mike Mason. I retired out of Downers Grove on the trucking squad. So in other words, we're having another good year. We'll be looking at the new program that I'm going to bring out to you this year called In the Realm of Risk, the Strategic and Tactical Firefight. So again, I can't thank FDIC enough for having me out. We've got a great, well, by now it's probably almost a 17-year relationship. So we'll show you just an overview of the program that I'm going to be bringing out to you. Eventually, this is going to turn into probably an 8-part series, which will be available on RicoFireRescue.com, our non-for-profit organization that also Bobby, Diane, and Ginger have also supported over the years. We predominantly do everything in regards to firefighter rescue and survival. So we've been training firefighters in that and also in the techniques and maneuvers of rapid intervention, company operations type of course. So what is this program essentially going to be dealing with? What it's going to be dealing with is a survival doctrine for the American Fire Service. We look at it, and I call it a fire service doctrine only because of my relationship. I was privy enough to have a sit-down with General Colin Powell. He had what they call a doctrine also for involvement in any type of wartime activity on the battleground, battling actual military combat situations. So I applied it to the American Fire Service. So what's important about this? What's really important about it is that what are the rules of engagement at structural fires? Structural fires, as you know, carry with them a lot of different avenues of attack, strategies, and everything else. So when I talk about this, I try to stress the fact that we've got to have just a basic set of rules. And what I found with this was that the set of rules involved four areas that really establish our mental thinking when we arrive at any particular structure. So what are they? Must be an absolute necessity to commit our firefighters to interior operations. We also got to have a compelling risk would be present or created by us not acting, okay, or doing nothing. So there's always that risk. If we don't do anything, will it get better? If we do something, will it get worse, or vice versa? And then we must have and apply an overwhelming force to engage and prevail in our steps in putting out any structure fire. So what do we mean by an overwhelming force? Well, simply this. It basically comes down to big fire, big water, small fire, small line. If I'm going into a building, I want to make sure that I've got a line that I can move and manage. And do I have an overwhelming force? That means the entire staff on the fire ground. What is my manning? What is my staffing? What do I have in reserve? All these things we're going to cover during the presentation at FDIC this year. So, and then the most important thing that I look at is this thing called, is everyone must have an exit strategy. Got to have an exit strategy. And I'm talking from the top on down. Top on down. That means the commander all the way down to the firefighter. What is your personal exit strategy? In other words, when you arrive on a scene, how does it look? Am I looking at a 2-story, 2.5 wood frame structure? Then I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to go through the front door. If I go through the front door, what are the areas that I'm going to be able to get out on? In other words, once I enter and cross that plane of what we call an ideal H environment, what is really going to be happening? Am I aware of the window to my left or the door to my right? Is there other avenues for me to escape in case something were to turn really bad and ugly? And that's not just the individual firefighter. As I said, that even comes down to who's ever commanding the fire zone as well. He must have an overall exit strategy for every firefighter on the fire ground. So we're also going to be going over fire attack and the structural environment. Like, do we understand our structures? Do we know what we're up against? In other words, just a simple fact, if I'm saying that I'm going to fight a commercial fire and I have to go interior, well, then let's take for example, the SCBA on my back. Well, maybe it's only 30 minutes of air in my bottle and 45 minutes of air in my bottle. Well, that surely, when I'm looking at a large building with the fire involvement in one portion of the building, when I go in through that front door, I'm thinking to myself, and I got 80 feet of wall between every door. Well, there's only 30-minute air supply in my back. So these are things you need to think about and adjust to in regards to your strategies and tactics. But just something simple like that. Then the other thing we're talking about is like we're trying to get in the mindset of changing our center of gravity. All right. So another thing that we like to deliver in this seminar when you guys show up at 2018 in April is that this center of gravity has different postures and positions in it. One thing I like to say is that when you're getting the call, you're in the firehouse, you want to come out swinging. But at the same time, while you're sitting there in the driver's and you're driving to that fire, you want to take a defensive posture in your mind. So think of that defensively. That means, what am I going to do? Am I going to go in there without thinking, not caring? In other words, do I jump off the rig? I got my pack, everything. I don't even pay attention to the building. I'm not doing a decent size up. Just things like that. Think defensively. So defensively means there's two areas going out the door. Because of lightweight construction and all the features we got, we know damn well that there's two things we got to worry about, and that's flashover conditions that are already available and then structural integrity. In other words, is there going to be a collapse of the environment that we're going to go into? Because we don't know how long the fire has been going. So it's just things like that. Then when we get on the scene, we're talking about this transitional dynamic posture. Well, what do we mean by that? It just simply means that it begins with what we see on arrival. So we're in what we call a transitional dynamic posture. So we haven't made a decision yet. We're not sure if we're going to go offensive. We're not sure if we're going to do defensive. Are we going to combine the two a little bit, which we should never do. We don't want any opposing hose lines, as you guys are well aware of. And then where are we going to go in? So that's a transitional thing. Now, things are still in motion in this fast motion, moving environment. And then finally, we take this cautious, aggressive posture. That means our intention is to move into an ideal H atmosphere. That means we're going to cross this barrier, the front door. We're going to go into this building with zero visibility. And so now all bets are off. Okay, so we can't see anything from the outside. We're dealing with everything on the inside. So what is that environment going to be like? What are the possibilities of the changing dynamics within? And then finally, we commit to this aggressive offensive attack. The American Fire Service and the American firefighter is so well revered because of our aggressive nature. And sometimes we're known as being too aggressive. And we can reveal that through just 100, possibly between 80 to 100 firefighter deaths per year in regards to the way that we do things. But I wouldn't give it up for the world. It's almost getting to the point where, we can't be safe on everything, but yes, we take a damn good pride in our aggressive type of attitude in putting out our fires. So what is that structure? What it's going to be known like? What's the involvement? And then what is the presence of our resources? And what is the entire tactical picture, meaning the tactical force that's on the fire ground? So fireground ventilation, we're going to be going over some things with that. These dynamics in firefighting. Is it necessary for it to be up on a roof? You heard the antage all the time. Hey, if it's not good to be on the roof, well, maybe we shouldn't be inside the building underneath the roof. And then we'll look at a lot of films going to be available to you. I'm going to show you guys that are on roofs that are just sawing away, putting 5 holes into a building when all they needed to do was put 1, and they should have been long gone off the roof before we have roof collapse and firefighters falling into attic spaces, or even worse, all the way to the bottom. So, I don't have to tell you, we've seen plenty of YouTube films and things like that in regards to firefighters getting in trouble. So then what else are we going to go over? We're going to go over UL and NIST studies. That means this new thing, and it's not really new. You know what I'm talking about. It's about this fire flow path, the increased heat release rates, all these things that we're talking about within a structure that happen. It's kind of old news, but with a new spin on it, but it's got a great spin. These studies are incredible for the American Fire Service, and we should understand fire flow path. Our ability, again, when we open that front door and we just don't leave it wide open anymore. Now we are concentrating on controlling doors. Keeping that fire flow path in the right situation that we want it to be in. And then with all this heat release rates, well, we know that lightweight construction, we know all about the furnishings that are in a home now. There's nothing anymore that's made out of cotton and wood. It's all made out of plastics and gasoline. That's all this is. So these heat release rates are really intense. Positive pressure. We've got fire departments that use positive pressure. And what we're talking about here is we want to make sure that we understand when we should use it. We should use it when, well, we've got to make sure the fire's out. There are some departments out there that get involved in also what they call positive pressure fire attack. Now, this is a good thing if you train on it, if you know how to use it. But we'll reveal some of that. Fire ventilation practices in regards to basement fires or anything in below grade or half grades. The old days we used to go beat up, take the hose line in, go over a floor we didn't even know was sound or intact, and now we had to find the basement door, zero visibility, go down the stairs, all enclosed up, trying to get down below the heat line. That's how we were trained, if you remember, right? Yeah? And I always say, this is old news. We no longer need to do that, so we're going to talk about ventilation practices. And that means basically, look, I'm going to open up anything below grade as much as I can, hit it hard with some lines before I go into the building and trying to put the basic seed of the fire out. So that's other areas we're going to talk about. We're also going to talk about survival. What is the civilian survivability profile when we're going after and searching for victims? Do we know how to search? Do we have good techniques and maneuvers when we're searching? So this is very important. When we do this, we also incorporate this with vent, enter, isolate, search. Well, that's the new thing. We threw in the word isolate. Isolate now. It used to be VES. Well, now it's VEIS. And why did they throw isolate in there? Because of controlling our doors and controlling our fire flow path. Isolating the search. VES means that we're going to an area into the building to bypass the fire or the interior stair and go into a window, doing a basic search of the room, controlling the door first, getting to the door, control the door, and those are things we're going to talk about. And we've got to make sure that everybody's in the right place. Who's our control man? Who's going to be monitoring on that ladder? How far do we search when we go in on a vent or enter search? A lot of departments only allow you to go one room and then two rooms. So just think about that. Other things that we'll think about. So there's always this high risk in interior searches with structural fires. Do we have the ability? There's no such thing. You know how we train in the fire service, and it's almost ridiculous. What we do is that when we train in teaching people how to search, well, we train in towers, and they got long walls and everything else. Well, you can't go into any home in the United States of America or anywhere in the world and expect to stay on a wall and search the premises. You'll be driven off the wall by furniture, whatever else they may have in the house. So we need to have good accountability, good voice communication, and still be able to move with speed and accuracy, and try not to overlook. Because we do always want to come up with a win-win situation. And a win-win is finding that civilian. And if we're really lucky, we'll have a great day, and it'll be a save. It'll be a save. So, situational awareness, I'm not going to badger this issue. We know that this word and this jargon has been in the fire service for many, many years now. And what is situational awareness? It simply means, look, am I in sync with reality at the moment? If I'm not in sync with reality at the moment, okay, then there might be some issues that are going to come up. In other words, when I travel around the fire ground, I look at myself and I say, look, I'm traveling in a box. And the box it's got 6 sides. I got up, down, all around, and so I got to be aware of that. Now, if I lose situational awareness, something that starts to rear its ugly head is called disorientation awareness. Disorientation awareness, we're going to talk about that a lot. Firefighters going into zero visibility, and the longer they stay in zero visibility, the harder things become. So all of a sudden, disorientation happens, and then the panic sets in, and now we're trying to figure out a way to get out, bail out, and call our maydays. So another thing. And then finally, we really want to look at what is our mayday factors in regards to, are we training right for firefighters? Are we training firefighter survival and rapid intervention? Are we meeting the standards of this NFPA 1407? All right, so just because you have a rapid intervention crew, just because NFPA 1407 you need 4 guys for a team, well, that's not necessarily so. I would rather have just at least 2 guys standing on the outside that are ready to rescue me. Now, the problem with that is, just like when we teach the national program, RICO, Rapid Intervention Company Operations, we give you and make sure that you understand that there's 5 ways to Sundays to take a firefighter up the stairs, a distressed firefighter. We teach you 5, 8, 9 ways, whatever, to take firefighters out windows and down ladders. Searching for firefighters, firefighter assessment. All these things in order to keep ourselves safe on the fire ground. So we need that presence on the fire ground, and most of us around the country probably cannot even muster an immediate rapid intervention team. A rapid intervention team should be on the fire ground within the first 8 to 12 minutes of any given structure fire. Well, that's not being met across the United States. You got to remember that 73% of the fire service is volunteers, and God bless them. You know, we're not all have the ability or the luxury to collect a check for $80,000 a year. These guys are doing it for nothing, and God bless them. So these are just some of the things that we're going to go over at my lecture, and I hope that I see you guys there. So if you need to call me or talk to me, whatever, in regards to this, I'll be more than glad to send you out the PowerPoint or the program on it. You can reach me at mike@ricofirerescue.com, or you can call Bobby Halton or Ginger and Diane. They'll be more than glad to give you a contact number, and my phone number here up on the screen for you that you guys can see. So I look forward to seeing you, and I hope I really see you. Attend the course and attend everything at FDIC. FDIC is a wonderful program, a national conference that's been available for so many years, and the educational opportunities for you are endless there. So God bless, have a good day, and stay safe out there, brothers and sisters. Bye-bye.